Good afternoon and welcome to Spectrum Television News at 12. I am Uyai Imam coming to you live from Uyo, the Akwa Ibom State Capital. Let's take a look at some of the major stories. President Tinubu urges Senate to amend Constitution for State Police. Labour gives Friday deadline to federal government over 3-month unpaid wage award and others. Also in the news, Sweden to increase deportations of convicted immigrants. We'll bring you the details of these stories and more in a moment. Good afternoon and thanks for joining us. We head straight to the presidency, where President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has approved a 1-year extension of the ban on the export of raw shea nuts, effective from February 26, 2026 to February 25, 2027. The development was disclosed in a statement by the President's Special Advisor on Information and Strategy, Bayo Onanuga. According to the statement, the extension reflects the administration's commitment to industrial development, domestic value addition, and the broader objectives of the Renewed Hope agenda. The ban is aimed at boosting local processing capacity, improving livelihoods in shea-producing communities, and expanding Nigeria's export base through value-added products rather than raw commodities. Meanwhile, President Bola Tinubu has charged the Acting Inspector General of Police, Olatunji Disu, to tackle banditry, terrorism and other security challenges plaguing the nation. The president issued the directive yesterday during Disu's decoration as the acting IGP, following the retirement of Kayode Igbetokun. President Tinubu said Disu's appointment comes at a critical moment, urging him to rebuild public confidence in the policies and the police capacity to do their job in collaboration with other security forces. President Tinubu urged Disu to advance the security pillars of his administration's Renewed Hope agenda. He expressed confidence in the acting IGP's discipline, operational experience and leadership capacity. In a related development, the Acting Inspector General of Police, Olatunji Disu, has pledged to anchor his tenure on professionalism, accountability and community partnership. Disu also assured President Bola Tinubu of his resolve to reposition the Nigeria Police Force, NPF, for greater efficiency and public trust. The 23rd Inspector General made the commitment shortly before the immediate past 22nd indigenous IGP Kayode Igbetokun formally handed over leadership shape of the force. Disu was first presented with the Nigerian national flag, followed by the flag of the NPF. Both officers had arrived at the force headquarters in Abuja at about 4:15 p.m. Addressing senior officers and other stakeholders, Disu acknowledged the weight of responsibility placed on him, stating that the task ahead requires diligence and measurable results. From the Red Chambers, the Senate Committee on Tertiary Institutions and TETFON yesterday met with officials of the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board (JAM), raising concerns over examination charges, system failures, and access to tertiary education, particularly for students in rural communities. During the session, Senator Amos Yohana, PDP Adamawa North, faulted what he described as mounting financial burdens on students amid prevailing economic hardship. Yohana questioned the justification for the fees the board is charging candidates, noting that many families are struggling with poverty. Lawmakers also highlighted recent technical challenges experienced by candidates while attempting to log into JAM's portal, asking the board to outline measures being taken to make the system more seamless and user-friendly for prospective students. The committee chairman, Mohammed Datuse, APC Katsina South, urged JAM to improve coordination within the tertiary admission process, underlining that each year students encounter difficulties securing admission into universities and other higher institutions due to a lack of synergy among stakeholders. In another development, the National Universities Commission has issued fresh guidelines regulating the award and use of honorary doctorate degrees in Nigeria. It cited what it described as the increasing incidence of indiscriminate conferment and misuse of such honors within the Nigerian university system. In a public notice released on its official X page today, the Commission said the guidelines were approved pursuant to its powers under the Education National Minimum Standards and Establishment of Institutions Act (CAP E3), Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004. The NUC stated that the new framework was designed to regulate the conferment process, preserve academic integrity, and safeguard the credibility and global reputation of the Nigerian university system. Away from that, organized labor in the Federal Public Service has issued a Friday ultimatum to the federal government to release funds to settle 3 months outstanding wage award and other pending allowances owed workers in ministries, departments, and agencies. The leadership of the Joint National Public Service Negotiating Council, trade union side, Labour warned that failure to meet its Friday, February 27, 2026 deadline would compel the 8 unions in the civil service to take decisive action. They accused the federal government of deliberately withholding funds meant for workers, despite agencies reportedly being ready to process payments once funds were released. The wage award dispute, which has lingered for over 2 years, followed the federal government's approval of a 70,000 naira minimum wage after the removal of fuel subsidy. Labour leaders said while partial payments were made after sustained pressure, 3 months remained unpaid since July 2024, creating growing tension with the federal workforce. We move now to Africa, where Egypt said that 18 of its citizens were still missing after a migrant boat capsized, killing 4 people off the Greek island of Crete last week. Reports say the wooden boat was carrying 50 people, including 4 minors, when Greece Coast Guard was alerted late Friday. Greek authorities then directed a commercial vessel to the area for a rescue operation. According to Greek public broadcaster ERT, an accident occurred when the commercial vessel approached the migrants' boat. As the passengers tried to climb up ladders into the rescue vessel, a sudden movement caused the wooden boat to capsize. Egypt's foreign ministry said that 21 Egyptians were on board the boat when it capsized, 3 of whom have been found dead while the rest remain missing. Still in Africa, DR Congo's government forces launched an attack on the M23 armed group in the country's east, using drones to strike a strategic mining site occupied by the Rwandan-backed rebels. According to reports, the fighting yesterday was concentrated in particular areas near the mining town of Rubaya, where M23 soldiers were hit by a drone strike the previous day. The Rubaya mine produces 15 to 30% of the world's supply of coltan, key to making electronics like laptops and mobile phones. Since its resurgence in 2021, the M23 has taken vast tracts of the DRC's resource-rich east, capturing the Rubaya mine in North Kivu province in April 2024 with Rwanda's help. On the foreign scene, Sweden's government has said it wanted to drastically increase the number of immigrants deported after being convicted, saying any crime with a penalty higher than a fine should lead to a deportation as a rule. The new bill would introduce several measures to increase deportations of criminals, including an obligation for prosecutors to request deportation as part of sentencing rather than leaving it up to the prosecutors to decide. The government said they believed the new legislation could lead to about 3,000 deportations per year, 6 times the current average of about 500 per year. The bill will first be sent to Sweden's Council on Legislation, which scrutinizes bills the government intends to put before Parliament. Still on the foreign scene, Cuban soldiers killed 4 people and wounded 6 others aboard a Florida-registered speedboat that had entered Cuban waters and opened fire on the soldiers first. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio told reporters that he was made aware of the incident and that the U.S. is now gathering its own information to determine if the victims were American citizens or permanent residents. Rubio said while at the airports in Basseterre, sent kits where he was attending a regional summit with Caribbean leaders. U.S. President Donald Trump's top diplomat refused to speculate on what happened, saying that it could be a wide range of things and that the U.S. will not solely rely on what the Cuban authorities have provided thus far. Cuba's government said 1 Cuban officer was injured, 4 suspects killed and others injured. 6 others injured, I beg your pardon. Still to come in the news. Super Falcons camp swells with 15 players ahead of Cameroon clash. Stay tuned for details of this and more in a moment. Welcome back and thanks for staying tuned. And now to the rest of the news stories. On our business news, Dangote Petroleum Refinery has announced plans to expand beyond crude processing into a fully integrated industrial hub, unveiling 5 major projects that aim to transform Africa's manufacturing landscape. The project encompasses the ambitious expansion plan of a 400,000-ton linear alkaline benzene lab plant to support detergent manufacturing across the continent. Addressing journalists during a tour of the refinery, Managing Director, Chief Executive Bird David said that such dependency is about to change. Bird noted that Africa currently imports 100% of its detergent and cleaning agent ingredients. According to him, the project is expected to drastically reduce import dependence and ensure that Africa and the region can source cleaning agent ingredients locally. Still in business, the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of the Niger Delta Power Holding Company, Jennifer Adijie, has urged the federal government to remove electricity subsidies for all customers and implement fully cost-reflective tariffs to restore financial stability in Nigeria's power sector. Adijie made the call in a statement made available to reporters in Lagos. The MD, while highlighting deep-rooted structural and liquidity challenges constraining the performance of the electricity market, advocated the decoupling of government subsidies from electricity tariffs and the gradual implementation of fully cost-reflective tariffs across all customer segments. According to her, establishing a financially viable electricity market is essential for restoring investor confidence, attracting private sector participation, and ensuring sustainable sector growth. On our health news, the Kwara State government has reiterated its commitment to ending female genital mutilation in the state, calling for a coordinated multi-sectorial strategy as it reviews its 2026 to 2030 action plan on the harmful practice. In a statement issued by the press secretary of the ministry, Iyanu Lawal, the Commissioner for Women Affairs, Okpeyemi Oluwakemi Afolashade, made the call during a stakeholders review meeting in Ilorin. Represented by the Director of Personnel, Finance and Supply, Rashid Ubandawaki, the Commissioner said the state government remained resolute in its determination to eradicate female genital mutilation and other harmful social practices against women and children. Still in health, researchers at the Nigerian Institute of Medical Research, Yaba, Lagos, have raised fresh concerns over the growing threat of antimicrobial resistance, warning that infections are increasingly becoming resistant to some of the most potent antibiotics available in hospitals. The researchers said recent findings from surveillance activities in Lagos State revealed alarming levels of resistance to third-generation cephalosporins, which are drugs typically reserved for severe infections that fail to respond to earlier treatments. Highlighting the scope of the work, NIMR senior researcher Dr. Imelda Chukwu explained that one of their major contributions focused on improving AMR monitoring systems within the state's healthcare network. Speaking while briefing journalists during the NIMR February media chat, Chukwu, who is the lead researcher, said that the team structured a comprehensive survey built around 4 healthcare facilities selected in Lagos as sentinel sites. Now to the world of sports. Galatasaray striker Victor Osimhen scored the decisive goal for his team as they eliminated Juventus from the Champions League on Wednesday night. The Turkish champions travelled to Turin with a comfortable 5-2 advantage from the first leg, but it was the host who took control of the second leg. Manuel Locatelli's penalty in the 37th minute gave Juventus the lead before their Federico Gatti doubled the advantage in the 70th minute. Weston McKennie's late header forced the game into extra time. As the first half ended, Victor Osimhen got on the end of a pass to put Galatasaray ahead in the tie again. Barry's Alpa confirmed their qualification for the last 16 with a breakaway goal. Still in sports, 15 players are now in Super Falcons camp in Yaoundé for the international friendlies against the indomitable Lionesses of Cameroon. The latest arrivals are Rinsola Babajide, Sukurat Oladipo, Folashade Ijamu Lucy, and Kafayat Shitu. The Super Falcons opened camp on Wednesday with 11 players. Among the early arrivals in camp are Captain Rashida Tajibade, Monday Gift Ngozi Okobi, Oluwatosin Demeyin, and Christy Uchebe. The Super Falcons will continue their preparation with another training session tonight at the Stade Omnisport Amadou Aljo Yaoundé. Meanwhile, Justine Magdou's side will face the indomitable Lionesses in the first friendly on Saturday. On entertainment news, Raymond Jago, a socialite and associate of Grammy-winning singer Burna Boy, has confirmed that the singer has converted to Islam. Burna Boy, who comes from a Christian background, sparked reports of his conversion to Islam after stating in a podcast a few weeks ago that he embraced Islam at some point in pursuit of truth. His religion has remained the subject of speculation since the podcast interview. Recently, his associate Raymond Jago shared a video of Burna Boy praising Allah with himself and other men in what looked like a bar on his ex-handle with caption Allahu Akbar. And that's all we have in this news bulletin. Do what follows on social media. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, SpectrumTVLive.ng. This has been Spectrum Television News at 12. I am Uyai Imam. Thanks for watching. Do enjoy the rest of your day. Good afternoon.